The next thing you want to do is schedule your home inspection. Now, you have a certain number of days in the contract to do all of your due diligence. So that means anything that you will need to do to ensure that you want to move forward buying this property. That can mean a home inspection, a sewer inspection, checking out the taxes, going down to the municipality and asking questions about zoning or use or things like that. Whatever you need to make sure that you are comfortable with that purchase. You may also want to verify the square footage. The square footage is often provided by the agent, through public records, through a past appraisal that the seller did. If square footage is important to you, then you want to verify that it is what you understand it to be before you move forward. So how do you choose a home inspector? Well, I have sent you a list of my inspectors, and these inspectors end up on my list because one of my past buyers has used the inspector and has had a good experience. I am not specifically endorsing any certain inspector. I would recommend that you research them, look up their reviews, give them a call, and find out if that's a good inspector for you to work with. Now, based on your schedule and your availability, it may really just come down to who is available to give you that home inspection at the time that you are available. So maybe you picked, 2 or 3 inspectors that you'd be more than happy with, and then you base your final choice on who can accommodate your schedule. You may also have family and friends who've used home inspectors in the past, and you are certainly welcome to choose whoever you want. But one thing I will caution you, don't choose an inspector based on who's going to give you the best price. That doesn't always work out well. And you may also want to hire a sewer inspector. Now, the home inspector that you choose may offer that as an add-on to your inspection, or you may want to hire a separate company. My list has sewer inspectors as well. And when you talk to the inspectors, they're also going to ask you if you want any add-ons besides a sewer inspection. You could have a radon inspection, and there's potentially other things that they're going to ask you if you want. That's up to you. Certainly, I'm happy to provide my feedback about those things, but ultimately, whatever you need to determine, is it the right property for you? Now, I often get a question, do I have to be at the home inspection? I would absolutely recommend it. Now, if you're one of my out-of-state investors, or you happen to be going out of town and there just absolutely is no way that you can be there, well, then we can work around it. But if you can be there in any sense, or if you're a couple buying the property or multiple people, at least one of you can be there, that would be absolutely ideal. Now, if there is no way that you can be there at all, and you have the ability to send a trusted friend or relative just to kind of be your eyes and ears and provide feedback, that's great too. But you will receive an inspection report, very detailed, after the inspection that you can review, and you can call the home inspector and ask them the questions that you have. That's the service that they provide, is follow-up questions after the inspection to make sure that you understand it and you kind of have their guidance. So there are ways to understand what you are buying without actually being there, even though we would absolutely recommend that you are there. And I've even done some things like, I have a buyer in another state, and she wasn't going to be able to be at the inspection. I was there, and when the inspector was kind of ready to give his summary about the house, I pulled her up on FaceTime, and she was able to kind of get the download from him, talk to him about it, ask questions, and then later reviewed the report and even called and followed up with him after that to ask more questions. So there are a lot of options. So when should you schedule the inspection? My recommendation is you get it done as soon as possible on the front end of the inspection contingency instead of on the back end. So for instance, if you have a 7-day inspection contingency, try to get it scheduled, day 1, 2, 3 instead of day 6 or 7. Because if you're scheduling it towards the end, if you need a second opinion about something, you need a quote on something, you need another specialist to go into the property, kind of running out of time at that point. So you don't have as much time to review the report, get second opinions on any work that needs to be done or costs of things that need to be done. So better to leave as much time as possible. Now, all you need to do is let me know when you want to schedule the inspection, and then I will make the arrangements with the agent and the seller of the house to get us in there. If you're one of my out-of-state buyers and you don't plan to be at the inspection, just pick the inspector that you want to use. Tell me who you picked or have them contact me, and then I will make arrangements with them for a time that works for both of us as soon as possible. If you are at the inspection, you may want to bring some measuring tape in case you want to measure some rooms or verify that square footage as we discussed. Now, what to expect from the inspector? The inspector is going to be able to tell you the things that they have flagged that are concerning in the home, whether they're major items, minor items, items that just need maintenance, or things that are ending their useful life. Like a water heater usually lasts about 10 to 12 years, and they'll be able to tell you the age of that. So it's not only to tell you what is wrong with the house or right with the house, but also giving you really good information on how to maintain your house. The inspector is probably not going to be able to tell you how much you can expect to pay for certain things that need to be replaced. They may be able to give you a range, or they may just say they don't know or they don't have enough experience with that item. So you're not necessarily going to expect for them to be able to give you a quote on something that then you can use in your negotiations. So after the home inspection, there are items that have come up. You and I are going to go through the report, and we're going to talk about what's important to you, and I will advise you on different ways we can address those things. First option, you can ask the seller to repair certain items. Now, you may not want to do that. You may not think that the seller is going to be able to do that or be capable of doing that based on how they've maintained the home previously, but that definitely is one option. The second option is to ask the seller to lower the price in some capacity. And the third option is asking for a seller concession, which means basically keeping the price the same, but asking the seller to pay for some of your closing costs, which will save you some cash, which you can then use to make certain repairs on the house. You can also use any combination of those three things. You might be asking for some items to be repaired and a concession for other things. And lastly, you can pull out of the deal. No questions asked. No harm, no foul. You can just say, I'm not comfortable with the home because of this, and I want out. You can get your earnest money deposit back as long as you have delivered that information in writing before your inspection contingency expires. And it's my job to help you keep that timeline.